This is Caleb and Sophia. It's childhood propaganda from Jehovah's Witnesses intended to indoctrinate their children. Now, it seems innocuous at first glance, like just a kid's cartoon, right? But it's actually really insidious, the way that they hide things in the propaganda to convince kids of all kinds of things. So let's take a look at, a few in their series. This one is about disciplining your children. I have a few that I want to look at here. The next one is about being humble, and then the last one is about being patient. Some of them are about, moral virtues that they believe in. Some of them are about not celebrating birthdays. Some of them are about praying all the time to deal with bullies and things like that. So let's listen to this one on how you should be disciplining your children, or accepting discipline, I guess, in this case, and see what they have to say for themselves.
Caleb, why aren't you playing outside?
Dad said I'm punished.
Oh, I see.
So I guess the mom is going to try to come in and convince him that what's happening is right. I mean, you have to put your kid in timeout. I'm not opposed to that. Unfortunately, Jehovah's Witnesses subscribe to the belief that if you spare the rod, then you spoil the child. So they didn't show this part, but they absolutely believe in spanking your kid without a question. It's morally wrong not to in their heads. But okay, let's keep listening.
No, Dad loves you, even when he disciplines you. Hey, do you remember when we planted the fruit tree?
Uh-huh.
Dude, this background music reminds me of Final Fantasy VII so much. It is it's like they copied the musical style of Final Fantasy VII. It's crazy. A game, by the by, that would be completely unacceptable to play. Just putting that out there.
It grew fast. But then
It fell over.
what did Dad do?
He helped it.
Right.
Okay, this is interesting. So the dad views it as his responsibility to put straps on the tree or put boundaries around the tree to make sure that it kind of grows up the way that that he wants it to. And that's totally reasonable. You as a parent, you have a responsibility to help a kid find their way in life, to train a kid up the way that you think a kid should be trained up, right? Well, here's the thing. I talk about cults all the time. I've been talking about cults for years and years and how they control people and manipulate people and influence them and things like that, right? And I get this question a lot. How is a family different from a cult? Fundamentally, it's a family's job, like a parent's job, to influence a child. Exactly like a cult. A cult comes in and influences kids too. How are they different? There's something called the influence continuum. This is written by Stephen Hassan. And the influence continuum details the difference between constructive influence and destructive influence. If an individual, leader, or organization are influencing you destructively, you should run. There's something wrong. Parents have an obligation to influence you, but it should be constructive, healthy influence, not destructive or unhealthy. That's the difference. If a parent or a cult or anybody else is encouraging you to be your authentic self, it's constructive influence. If they are encouraging or programming in a false cult identity, like we're watching Caleb and Sophia have happened to them, it's destructive influence. Influence from a parent or an organization or anybody else should be built on unconditional love rather than conditional love, like Jehovah's Witnesses are. Should be built on compassion, not hate. Conscience, not doctrine. Creativity and humor, not solemnity, fear, and guilt. Free will and critical thinking, not dependency and obedience. There's a clear, distinct line to be found between these two things, destructive and constructive influence, and Caleb and Sophia, or Jehovah's Witnesses, are using this show, Caleb and Sophia, to blur that line. So yes, they do have a responsibility to help them grow up in a constructive way. Just like the tree. Got to put braces on the tree to make sure that it grows up straight. Like, I mean straight in the colloquial sense, not in the sexual sense. But anyways, you do have a responsibility to raise your kid to be a constructive member of society. Jehovah's Witnesses have no investment in that. Their investment is making sure kids grow up to be good Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't care how they act in society.
Did the straps hurt the tree?
No, they helped it grow straight.
Wow, did the straps hurt the tree? This is a subtle message. Like, if you're hit with a strap or a belt or a paddle or something, that's just what it is. Like, you won't be hurt in the long term, I guess, in their minds. Of course, you actually will. It's really not good to paddle your kids or to hit them with a belt or whatever. You should find another way. It's called corporal punishment, and it's absolutely terrible and unproductive. No reason to ever use a strap or a belt or a paddle or anything. My dad had this old, it's not a 2x4 because that's kind of narrow. It's like this narrow. But my dad had a piece of wood that was about this thick, or this wide roughly. It was like an inch or two thick, and it was long. So he, would grab the handle. He had tape around the handle. And when we did something bad, he'd grab that piece of wood and he'd smack the shit out of us with that. When my brothers moved, grew up, I'm the youngest. When my brothers left home, they designed a new paddle because the old one was falling apart from so many hits, I guess. And they drew blood on it and stuff. I mean, just with a red pen, just for laughs because they thought it was funny. In retrospect, that is some messed up stuff, dude, for real. That is some messed up stuff. I remember doing something that I knew my dad was going to paddle me for, and I knew he kept it on top of the fridge, so I just kind of, I leaned up, looked up over the fridge, and just kind of pushed it back, and it fell behind the fridge. Oh, dude, they were looking for that thing forever. Turns out his hand is worse. You don't want the hand, but anyway. That's the Jehovah's Witness way. They are nonviolent pacifists, except for when it comes to children. It's important to hit your kids. It's right there in the Bible. That's what they think. That's where their head is at. And to be honest, I actually spanked Alpha Force Zero too, up until maybe 4 or 5, until I realized how absolutely ass backwards that was. I will never hit another kid under any circumstances. They're just not using their heads. They're basing all of their morality and ideas about how society should run off of a book that was written 3,000, 4,000 years ago. We should break out of this and realize how deeply destructive it is. Anyway, let's keep listening to Caleb and Sophia.
Yes. Jehovah and Dad correct you sometimes too, like the tree. Do you remember what the Bible says? Jehovah disciplines...
Jehovah disciplines the ones he loves.
Again, discipline's necessary, but to some degree, right? But if you're doing it in an attempt to program in a false identity, if it's all built on conditional love, hate, doctrine instead of conscience, solemnity, fear, and guilt, dependency, and obedience, that's a problem. That's a problem. I'm not a fan of that. The animation on this is absolutely top tier, seriously. Oh my god. This is like Pixar level stuff, right? Look at this. Oh my god. The animation is truly impressive. What a waste of talent. Seriously. This is all in-house, by the way. This is all Jehovah's Witnesses that animated this. They didn't hire an out-of-house studio to do all of this. Really impressive. Look at the water. Wow, man.
Oh, oh, Caleb.
I love you, Dad. If discipline is love, you must love me a whole lot.
Yes, Caleb. Yes, I do.
Okay, that was a psychotic thing to say. Wow. I don't even know how to react to that. If discipline is love, you must love me a whole lot. That's sad. That's straight up sad. You know, it's a cartoon. It's fake. But the parents, Jehovah's Witness parents and children, watch this on a regular basis. They get their morals from this. It's supposed to be teaching them how they're supposed to act and think and believe in everyday life. Next one is be humble. Again, this is like a series of episodes I wanted to watch that kind of give you moral values and ideals that Jehovah's Witnesses believe in. So let's listen to this one, Lesson 29, Be Humble, see what they have to say.
She thought that she could win, but there was no way. Next year, I'll be the fastest kid in the entire school.
That's 'cause I'm not in your school.
Oh, please. Remember last time when I beat you in front of the whole congregation?
Okay, well, that's not good, trying to beat somebody in front of the whole congregation, but, you know, some degree of pride in what you do is a good thing. Some degree of competition and appreciation and joy in that competition is good. I mean, that's what our whole economic system is built off of, right? Competition? Hell, that's what almost any economic system is built off of, just about. But pride comes before a fall and all that other, you know, Bible verses that the Bible says about pride. Jehovah's Witnesses want to zero in on. Instead of thinking about it for 3 seconds and realizing that the economic system that we operate in right now isn't even compatible with these old values from 4,000 years ago. The parents look alarmed, okay?
Caleb, do you remember this story?
Oh, yeah. That's the Tower of Babel.
That's right. Why were these people trying to build this tower?
So they could live there?
Right. So if you're unfamiliar with the Tower of Babel, it's a fake story, of course. It's just a Bible story, which is tantamount to a fairy tale, in my opinion. It's just about this tower they tried to build. People at the time, I guess, tried to build this tower, a humongous tower that stretched all the way to heaven, and God was so angry that they tried to reach him all the way in heaven that he struck it down, and everybody who was building the tower at the time spoke different languages, and those are the origins of languages, apparently. So anyways, yeah, it's a fairy tale. You know, it's an allegory. It's just a story told to convey a point in the Old Testament. Like, I don't know. It just blows me away that people really buy this. I bought it. It's simply absurd. But okay, let's listen here.
So they could live there?
Actually, it was because they thought they were awesome.
They thought they were awesome. Okay, I don't really agree with that assessment, but all right.
Actually, it was because they thought they were awesome and wanted to show off. But what did Jehovah think of that?
Oh, he didn't like it.
That's right. He even confused their languages, so they would stop bragging.
But at school, everyone brags.
It's super weird that was the lesson that they pulled from that, but okay, I suppose. So this is really interesting. Caleb says at school, everyone brags, right? And they're going to make a point to children that you should basically completely separate yourself from the entire world. Like, don't be a part of it in any way. I got the same talk when I was little, before Caleb and Sophia.
I know. Lots of people brag. I have bragged too. But that's wrong.
Bragging isn't great, but taking pride in what you have accomplished is good. And look at what the dad's doing. Okay, I guess this guy, it's being portrayed that this guy is not really happy about it, but they're conflating conceit with pride. You don't want to be conceited, but there's nothing wrong with pride. There's nothing wrong with being proud of the things that you've done or being proud of your kid. It's just absurd that they want to program this into people like this.
But that's wrong. When we brag or show off, it's like we're building a tower for ourselves, just like the Tower of Babel.
If I wanted to, I could set a new world record. No problem.
If you say so, but I'm better at basketball than you.
I was just messing around, but they say I'm a natural.
The higher up we try to put ourselves, the more dangerous it gets.
Right, because pride comes before a fall, quote unquote. That's the Bible verse that they're about to use as the basis for their position. Like I said, there's a difference between pride and conceit. They're talking about being conceited here. You shouldn't be conceited. You shouldn't be obsessed with yourself. But to be proud of your accomplishments, that's a totally different thing.
Do you know why?
Because we'll eventually fall? Whoa.
Yes. Also, 1 Peter 5:5 means that Jehovah doesn't want us acting like we are better than everyone else. Humble people don't need to brag, because Jehovah will make them feel good about themselves on the inside.
Your mom makes me feel good on the inside. Anyways, yeah, so that was the pride one. Sounds like they're just confusing pride with conceit. But the Bible uses the word pride specifically, so that's the one that they believe is evil. Check this one out. You can be patient. I guess this is an important point that they want to drill home with their people. Lesson 21. Seriously, the animation on this is absolutely on point. And I love the frog hat. I want one of these desperately.
I wish it would stop raining so I could go outside.
Aw, I wish you could go outside too. But we need the rain, so plants can grow and we can have things to eat. It's a good thing.
Okay, I don't think he was arguing that the rain sucks or he hates it or it should just go away forever. I think he just wants to go outside. What's the point they're trying to get at here?
Even Jehovah waits for things, so he knows how we feel. There have been lots of things wrong with the world for thousands of years. Jehovah wants to fix them all. But he's waiting for just the right time to do it.
Wow, that's really interesting, actually. Jehovah is waiting for the right time, huh? Okay. Well, I would say the right time would have been about 5 billion people ago. You know, there have been somewhere in the ballpark of 100 billion people to live on planet Earth, I believe. Roughly 117 billion people, give or take. Although Jehovah's Witnesses don't really accept that because they're what's called old Earth creationists. They believe in a literal Adam and Eve, but that's a story for a different day. Jehovah could have fixed the problem 100 billion people ago, though. Hell, he could have fixed it 10 billion people ago, or 5 billion. He could have fixed this thousands of years ago. And we're still sitting here waiting. There is no right time. You know what the right time was? Before everybody died. For that matter, Jehovah's Witnesses are old Earth creationists, which means they believe that the Earth is 4.54 billion years old, accurately, as it is. And they believe that dinosaurs roamed the Earth before Adam and Eve and everything. But they believe that Adam and Eve are real, literal people who literally were created by God and placed in the Garden of Eden and everything else. So here's my question for Jehovah's Witnesses. If Adam and Eve were really real people, why didn't God simply quarantine them after they sinned and create a new breeding pair? I'm just some guy, okay? I'm not exceptionally smart. I'm not like the God of the universe. Nowhere near it. Why is it that I am capable of coming up with this very basic idea that just came to me one day, just like that, and God had all the time in the world to consider his next steps, and he didn't consider that one, apparently. Give Adam a vasectomy, quarantine him, create a new breeding pair. Suddenly we have perfect humans again. He doesn't have to kill Adam and Eve, although I don't see why he really had a problem with that anyways. God ordered a ton of people killed, like the Midianites. Just create a new breeding pair. Why is that so difficult? And now we're waiting for the right time? The right time was 6,000 years ago. This is a joke. It's a joke because they successfully convince their people that this is real. It's absolutely absurd.
There have been lots of things wrong with the world for thousands of years. Jehovah wants to fix them all.
Then fix it. The God of the universe created everything, capable of doing absolutely anything in the blink of an eye. And we're waiting for him, really? I mean, think about this. Really, knock this around the noggin for a minute and think about how absolutely absurd it is for them to say something like this.
But he's waiting for just the right time to do it.
Jehovah must be so bored.
Not even a little bit, because he stays busy doing good things, like teaching us and taking care of the preaching work.
Okay, Jehovah is not doing any of that. They are. Jehovah's Witnesses are. And for the record, I've told this story a few times now, but Jehovah is not God's name. I just want to drill this in. Jays didn't even exist until I think the 1400s or something. Up until that point, I's were used in place of J's, but J was a popular sound to be made in Germanic regions, and when the name Yahweh passed through Germanic regions, Y's are pronounced like J's and W's are pronounced like V's, so it became Jehovah rather than Yahweh. There's a lot more to it than that. It's a big, complicated thing. Again, I've covered this before in great detail, so if you're really curious how it works, just go to my website, owenmorgan.com, and type God's name or something like that. It should pop something up for you. I feel like I need to make that point clearly.
Taking care of the preaching work. You can stay busy.
God, look at this. I remember this book. Like, you can't really make it out because it's just kind of a yellow blob, but I remember this. It's called What Does the Bible Really Teach? I remember the stand and the designs and everything, and I read this book a lot when I was younger because that was like required reading.
Us and taking care of the preaching work. You can stay busy doing good things too. Perhaps you can ask Jehovah to help you be patient. And now, instead of just sitting there being bored, you can help me do all these dishes.
Wow, interesting. So I guess the point they're trying to make here is that you should pray frequently for everything also, right? They did an episode about praying too, where you should pray anytime. It was like a song that they did. And they portray Sophia, Caleb's sister, praying all through the entire episode, like 5 or 6 different times. And everybody knows that doing the dishes kills boredom, right? Absolutely. Because dishes are super fun. Everybody loves dishes.
Wow, you are fast. Thank you, Caleb.
Look, it stopped raining.
The rain...
Ew, what an ugly bird, dude. Look at this bird. What is wrong with it? It is just terrible. The colors are pretty, but there's something deeply fundamentally wrong with the way that this bird looks. It's just, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it.
Look, it stopped raining.
The rain always stops eventually. You just have to be patient. And since you helped me with the dishes, so nice of you, now I can take you to the park.
Yes! I'm a frog. Where the frogs live in the mud. Get involved!
No, wait! Ah.
This is so cringy, I can't stand it. It's painful. And now, I guess they're saying he's being patient now by watching his clothes dry. And in his free time, he's supposed to read the Bible storybook. That's what this is, the Bible storybook. Now, they have an updated version of this book, but back when I was this age, I used to read the yellow one, and that one is infamous in Jehovah's Witness circles, notorious, if you will. Yeah, this is the Bible storybook. This is, it had some deeply disturbing stuff in it. A guy being eaten by a whale. They didn't hold anything back in the Bible stories because they believed that God put it in there for everybody, not just adults, but children too. There's some disturbing shit in the Bible, dude, really. Like, really bad. And I don't know. They didn't care. They didn't care what audience they were talking to. They're going to portray a woman being pushed out a window anyways. They're going to portray Nephilim grabbing people by the throat and strangling them to death. They're going to show you all the cute little animals and then show them in the very next page drowning to death, all of them, and people drowning on a rock. This book is designed for little children. Look, here's a Nephilim grabbing somebody. Seriously, disturbing, haunting book. Should not be shown to children. So anyways, yeah, that's what Caleb is reading here. Absurd, dude. Absurd on every level. Now, let me know what you think about it in the comments. Caleb and Sophia is just terrible childhood propaganda, in my opinion.